Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Hey, Shay, what do I say? Today, I have an awesome new guest, a new person that I am just now becoming friends with. We met a couple of actually a couple of days ago on LinkedIn. And we just had a chat just a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday? I think it might have been yesterday. That's life in the quarantine, right? You have no idea what day is going on. And I just really hit it off with him. He's an amazing father. He has an amazing husband. He is a basketball coach, and he is an author. So of course, I'm like, we're kindred spirits, buddy. And he's also a thought coach, which I find fascinating. And his book that he has written is so timely because right now we are having so much loss going on in the world today, unfortunately. And so we're going to talk about, what is it that you say to someone who has experienced loss of a loved one? And so welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey.
Hello. Hey. And say your last name. Say your last name.
Holzer.
Holzer. Okay.
Yep. It's
a
strong German name. So
got it. So thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate your taking the time out of your busy schedule with all your little kids and everything you have going on. So
sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on here. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah. So the question is, what do I say to my friend who lost a loved one, who experienced a loss? So would you have any advice for them as a coach, as a thought leader, as an author? What would you say?
I think it starts with questions, and it's more of like not telling people what to do, or even like, giving them suggestions, because we all handle loss differently. We all feel things differently. So it's more of like, what can I do to help you? And it could be just like, for me, it was like, can you just listen to what I have to say? Or can you just, be next to me? Like, just sit next. I just need somebody just to sit next to me. And sometimes I may be like, I just need space, and then whatever they tell you, honor that, and don't try to be like, fix it all the time. Because, I've had this problem before whenever my wife tells me just to listen. I just want to fix things. It's kind of the guy thing to do.
Right.
And so I learned, I was like, no, I just need to be a better listener. So, I think it's not so much what you say. It's more of like empathy and understanding and a sense of caring. Because, a lot of times there's really nothing you can say. It's right. In my situation, a lot of people couldn't relate to it, because it was, so, different, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And so speaking of, and if you don't mind sharing, would you be willing to share, what your experience was with loss?
Yeah. So I was 17 at the time, and, I ended up losing my father to suicide. And that was in 2003. And actually it was on May 8th. So it's a week from today. So May is and ironically, May is a mental health month as well, starting off today, and so May has it's normally a month of celebration. It's normally like graduation, summer starting, all these awesome things. Right. That's what I was looking forward to as well.
Mother's Day, Cinco de Mayo, right. All of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so that May for me has a bit of a different twist, especially at the beginning. And it's a day that, it changed my life forever. It's anytime you lose anybody to somebody passing away, your life is never going to be the same.
Right.
But there was something about suicide that made it just feel even more different, or more, it heightened the loss even more so.
Yeah. Yeah. So the experience that you had at a young age, you were about to be a senior in high school?
Yeah, it was into my junior year, going into my senior year, the following school year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, do you, how do I want to say this? How do you see your path has really like being able to heal from that and then shifted going forward?
Like 5 years after it happened, I was, I never like really went down the route of, alcoholism or addictions or anything like that, but it was more of the route of like overthinking or not,
Mm-hmm.
or lack of self-confidence in doing something, or, questioning my decisions. And, that's really taxing and draining. Like you can really wear yourself out by, making a decision like, oh, was that the right decision? Did I do that right? Was I supposed to call that person? They didn't answer. What happened? And it was all like coming back from me feeling abandoned, angry, broken, confused, you name it, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand it. I didn't understand myself very well at the time. I was a young adult, you're still learning a lot at those ages.
Sure.
So as I've gotten better at processing things, and now I can look back, it makes sense. Like, oh man, okay, that makes sense why I acted that way, because I didn't really, I didn't process the grief and the healing very well, because I thought counseling was like, oh, this is just some person that's paid to hear me talk about my problems. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize the benefit that could have probably helped, because I was a stubborn male, young male, 18. I was like, I can figure this out on my own. I don't need anybody's help.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Which, by
so
the way, is
yeah,
most people at that age. It's not just a male
yeah,
female thing. Yeah.
it's, luckily
They're
I did have.
invincible and think they can just handle it. So you
Yeah.
just
And
never
I
know.
did have some great friends though that were, hey, like, Jason, you need to, you need to talk about this. Like, this is not
Mm.
normal. Like, this is, if you bottling up all inside and thinking you got it, it's going to express itself eventually. And one of the things I've always said is like that, now that I've learned, is that, emotions suppressed will eventually be expressed, whether you consciously think about them or
Ah,
not. Whether
yeah.
you choose to express them or whether they're not, they will eventually be expressed.
So true. So true. So you're a certified thought coach. Is that how
Mm-hmm.
you say it? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So did that impact the suicide? Your dad committed suicide. Was that impacting in a way that you decided to shift careers?
Well, I'm still a coach teacher. This is something that this is a newer venture for me that I'm transitioning into, but I
Mm-hmm.
just felt like it made sense. Like, because your thoughts, whenever you are, they create your reality,
Right.
so, and I wasn't aware of that until I really started diving into personal development, and I started diving into how your mind works, because, I heard it said very well that, suicide is not, somebody trying to end their life per se. It's them trying to end the thoughts that are in their mind, like the things that
Mm,
keep. A friend of mine said it's like it's a mind swirl, like it just encompasses you, and the more you focus on those things, the more they're going to overwhelm your mind. So being a thought coach, to me, I was like, you know what, I can help people decipher what they're thinking and show them how it's affecting literally everything. Because, Shay, a lot of our thoughts don't even come from us. A lot of them comes from outside sources that we just pick up along the way and assume like, oh, that's just the way it is. And it's until we
absolutely.
question them and we
Mm-hmm.
question the root of where they came from, then we can start to shift our own thinking of, do I really believe this, or is this something that was impressed upon me that I didn't even realize?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. So you're mostly working on people's thought patterns and their mindset and kind of diving into figuring out like, where did this come from? Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
was someone else's, I'm a fearless living coach. So it's maybe as somebody else's fear that they actually
Mm-hmm.
put onto them and they're just accepting it and going, well, that's what's wrong with me. And
Yeah,
the truth
absolutely.
is that might not be the case, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know, like if you even can't pinpoint a thought, every feeling you have is initiated by a thought. So, if you pinpoint the feeling, then you can trace it back to where you got that thought from. So maybe there's a little bit
Mhm.
of a backwards thing, because the way your mind works is your thoughts create your feelings create your actions. So there's a
Yes.
cycle here,
Yes.
and if you can't understand where your thoughts are coming from, then you are opening your subconscious up to any feeling whatsoever. And that's going to dictate how you act. So that's how
Absolutely.
we're made.
Yeah. And I just want to take a quick second and say, if you guys are watching, feel free to put some comments. We might not be able to see them. So if we can't see them, feel free to put them anyway. We will circle back around once this is, ended, and we will answer them and get back to you for sure. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you're watching this. So what comes up for me is as a coach, I understand that too. Like your thoughts happen and then your feelings happen. It causes a feeling. And then the next phase is your action. And with suicide, it is almost like it's a temporary solution to a permanent solution to a temporary problem, right? And I think sometimes, I just watched this the other day and it made me think of it, but when I knew we were going to do this, that this young kid, he was 12, about to be 13, hung himself. And the dad was like, I don't think he meant to do it. I think he was just so caught up in his thoughts. He said his feelings, but I am right there with you. It's this overactive mind chaos that tells you how, all the bad things you can possibly think of about yourself, which then causes the heart to feel, even lower. And then that's what drives the action. So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you're right on cue there. It's because whatever you are thinking, again, it's the phrase of like, either you control your mind or your mind can control you. Now, some people, they have a situation where it may be genetic, it may be biological, where maybe they have a harder time controlling their thoughts. But, I believe most of us really have the power when we stop and we think. Now, thinking's been coined as the hardest work to do, because whenever you think and originate your own thoughts, like, then like that's something that didn't come from the outside. And again, a lot of times is, we get barraged, especially now. Like, you got social media, you got TV, you got YouTube, you got the internet. I mean, there's all kinds of messages being thrown at you,
Right.
And you got to learn to filter those out. Like, I don't even turn on the TV. If I turn on, it's something I want to watch. Like, I want to watch The Last Dance by Michael Jordan because that takes me back to a fun time whenever I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's, or a movie with my son or whatever. Like, other than that, like, I don't want to be bombarded with that stuff, because I don't want to have to reject it and kick it back out of my mind and have to go through that process of like not allowing it to be emotionally attaching thoughts, and that's so huge. Like, if you understood how much your thoughts are connected to your emotions, people would not watch the news. But they
totally
do because they feed into the negativity, because that's how we're wired. Like, that's how we are wired, for survival, not prosperity, because that's our genetic. We like had to fight off, like prey back. We were prey back in the day, but now we've evolved. And so now you got to understand that negativity can be flipped, and you actually like flip it to positivity. So.
Well, and that's why I think we just really hit it off and clicked, because I actually did that several years ago. And it is such a mindset for me, it's of thankfulness or of gratitude, to really focusing on what you have, what your blessings are, rather than focusing on what you don't have. Focusing on what's going wrong. You can always focus on what's going wrong. I mean, look at everything that you watch. They focus on the thing that's wrong. Right. And so,
are you familiar with Andrew Carnegie? Do you know who he is?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So he told Napoleon Hill, who is the author of Think and Grow Rich, he said, any thought that is focused on, that's either feared or revered, will clothe itself at once. And what that means is anything you focus on is going to start coming towards you. So,
exactly.
Now, again, you can't be 100% positive thinking all the time. And even if you are, you're not going to feel 100% positive all the time. But what you can do is, like you mentioned, gratitude. Like, if you attach yourself to gratitude and you feel the gratitude, it's not just writing a bunch of things down you're thankful for, but actually connecting on an emotional level, you're going to notice things start to shift in your life. And that's what I have noticed dramatically over the last 5 years. Like, it's amazing how much like I think differently now than even a year ago. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. In fact, you mentioned Napoleon Hill. I'm listening to, because I read and listen at the same time, Outwitting the Devil. And he was just talking about that, how that's kind of how you call the devil, or, negativity or evil, whatever you want to call it, or fear even, really. Um, it is it wants to overpower you in your thoughts of, well, let's focus. Whatever you focus on is what, like exactly what you said, whatever you focus on is what you're going to get. You're going to receive that. It's going to come towards you. So just like, right now, everybody's focusing on, oh my God, I can't go out. I can't do this. I can't. And you're going to continue to get more things that you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
going to see the opportunities that are out there that you could be open towards, because you have your blinders on. It's just shut down.
And whether you say I can't or I can, you're right either way.
Right. Exactly.
And honestly, I can't is the word is a bad word in my house. That's the worst 4-letter word in my house is can't. I'm like, nope, dismiss that. That's not allowed here. I don't want to hear it. Nope. Now you could say I don't want to. That's different, but
Right.
you can, and that's what it goes down to. Like, when people say I can't, they just really don't want to. You have the ability to, but it goes back to like, oh, I can't do that. Well, then you just really don't want to do it. Quite frankly, you could, but you're just making the choice not to. And that might be too honest, but that's kind of the reality of it. Is like, it goes back to want and desire. That's what it all, because we are unlimited potential. We can do, like, we put people on the moon. We've climbed Mount Everest. It goes back to the will and wanting to do something and sticking with something, as opposed to saying I can't or I can.
Yeah. So getting back to the topic at hand. So if you have a friend that's a loved one has passed away, you don't want to say really anything. You just want to be there for them. You want to be, just want to show up. You want to listen, like you had mentioned, show up with empathy or compassion. And that brings me to really living life with intention and how you want to show up. Do you want to show up with empathy and compassion for others, or do you just want to show up and, be that negative Nelly sort of quote unquote person in other people's lives? So is there, how do I say this? Is there, well, it's gone. Welcome to quarantine brain.
Something better's coming. It's okay. Something better's coming. It's all good. No worries.
That's what's so funny about you being a thought coach, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely a thinker, and then it's like sometimes like, wait, where to go?
Where to go? Yeah, it'll come back. No worries.
Absolutely. So, tell us about your book. It's called Shattered by Suicide, and you can finish the rest of it, but I would just want to congratulate you, first of all, on being a bestseller. That is fantastic.
Yeah. As of yesterday, actually. So it's it's exciting time, and I think I feel like if I can tell people, and my goal is for writing this book, if it helped one person, then it mattered. Yeah. And it's called Shattered by Suicide, Renewed by Resilience: How to Move Forward After Being Left Behind. Because that's how I felt. I felt left behind, quite frankly. And so how did I pick myself up after it? Well, I pushed through, and I went and hung out with friends, and I didn't want anybody to, sometimes I was like, can my life just be some kind of increment of normal?
Yeah.
Can it be like something that brings me familiarity of fun, of, or of, something to lift your mood, and sometimes an escape is okay. Like sometimes it's okay to like just go away for a little while and, check yourself and then come back and then face reality again. Like that's like, you just got to do what you need to do to get to a place where you can move forward and thrive forward, I would even say. So,
well, and I'm going to pause you right there, only because this is such great information, especially in the world we are in right now. Moving forward is going to look completely different at this time, especially for teenagers. especially
Yeah.
for kids that are used to being in school, used to, having PE and running off all this energy, being around their friends and being social. And now everything's totally different. So it just really, plays into today to really figure out how best to move forward. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's very timely.
And I think the key is, we all need to be patient with each other. Like
Mm,
nobody's gone through this before. Like the last pandemic was 1918. Literally all of us are experiencing this at the same time,
yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
What makes this different for me is, whenever I lost my dad to suicide, that was forever changing.
He's
This,
right.
is a phase, and this is going to pass. So, quite honestly, for me, like it really hasn't been as big of a deal.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, I've been through worse. Like, stay home with my kids and my wife and hang out with them. Okay.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Government, you're gonna send me a stimulus check to help me get through this? Okay. I
Okay.
mean, I can work on other things that maybe I want to find other passions in. Cool. Sounds great. Okay.
Yeah.
The only bummer is, we did have to have my son turn 1 on April 9th, and we had a quarantine or a Zoom birthday party.
Mm,
So that was sad. Like you don't want to have a birthday party with everybody on a screen. Like you want everybody to be in
right.
their presence and that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I mean, there've been some, unfortunate moments, some sad moments, but you work through them. You feel you express them, you acknowledge them, and then you know you learn. You keep moving from them. So.
Right. So when you say left behind, what comes up for me is, it doesn't matter if it was someone that you had lost and you felt left behind. I myself, at the same age as Jason, which was so funny when we were talking about our stories, I was left behind. My dad had left my mom, right before my senior year in high school. And there's something about, it's almost like feeling abandoned,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And
I'm with you. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and even if it was a choice of themselves leaving, like ours was, or it was an accidental choice, there is something about feeling abandoned that is so. It actually, I'm going to say, you talked about how the feelings affect or your thoughts affect your feelings. I think your feelings in this case affect your thoughts. So when you
Mm,
feel abandoned, it automatically goes to this, what did I do wrong?
hmm.
You
And
know,
then it's the question that has a very difficult answer of why. And
absolutely. Yeah.
and then you start thinking to yourself, I'm unlovable, or I'm
Yes.
not
Yes.
worthy of love, right?
Right.
This
Or
I'm not deserving. And then when those thoughts
yeah.
start swirling, that's when it starts to get you feel, and you start believing that, and then you start acting that way. So and then
Right.
you start, that's when disease starts kicking in. That's whenever you start not feeling good, you get sick, you're not healthy, you're not eating right, you're not, depression kicks in. But again, and I know, like you said, sometimes it feels, but again, it starts with the thoughts. Whenever you think I'm not worthy, when you think I'm not, lovable, or you know, they abandoned me. How does that make you? Those are negative thoughts, and
Yeah.
what does that make you feel automatically?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to get involved with it right now because I feel like, oh God, I don't like that.
Right.
So
Right.
you just gotta kick those out, and the reality of it is we are all very lovable.
Mm-hmm.
We were meant to be, the human race is like an ant colony. We were meant to like build each other up and help each other out. Like that's what we're designed to do.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
your words can be a guide, or it can tear people down. It can, either way. So kind of like what you mentioned before with your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, one of the things that we do with in Fearless Living is take you through what's called a wheel of fear. And what you described, being unlovable and damaged and, and worthless, insignificant, all of that is a core negative feeling.
Mm,
And then that absolutely drives your self-destructive behaviors, whether it's drinking too much or whether
hmm.
it is, you are, eating too much. Maybe you're doing, maybe you're an adrenaline junkie and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is fun. But really, you're doing it just thinking, hope, kind of wishing almost that something could happen to kind of bring you back to reality.
And that's where, again, every emotion that is suppressed will eventually be expressed. It could be some kind of addiction. It could be, for me, I had vivid dreams. Like, I thought my dad was alive again, kind of thing. And I had to wake up and I had to like pour cold water on my face, like sit up and like, I woke up in a cold sweat thinking like, is this real? Like, is this, I had to really like knock myself back into reality. Like, it was so, I mean, it felt like he was alive again, because I had not dealt with the anger, the resentment, the confusion. And it came whenever I fell asleep. Your subconscious mind is wide open, and that's how it came back up and suppressed it or expressed itself.
Right.
And I talk about that in my book, in one of my chapters, about the dreams and the dreams that I had and the anger that I felt as I slept. It was something that I've healed from that. And I can tell I've healed from that because I haven't had them in like 2 or 3 years, because I've finally faced and I've understood, like, oh my gosh, okay, that's why this is happening.
Yeah. So you talk about anger. Anger is such a hot topic for me because I'm an overcomer I've had deep anger. And to me, at having that anger really was unresolved. And so moves into depression.
Because it gets suppressed.
Absolutely.
Even farther. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there was someone listening to this, because I mean, gosh, we are literally in a crazy, crazy time, especially for someone who is, I'm not even going to say isolating, because I don't like that word. So somebody who is in solitude by themselves, and they're thinking, maybe I should just end it. What advice would you have for them?
Think about how you can maybe make somebody else's day happier. Maybe calling a friend, and maybe like, you're finding a way, like, you know what, the first person I think of, I'm going to call, and I'm going to make their day. I'm going to give them joy, or I'm going to send them a text message, or, I'm going to think about, my loved ones, and think, and that's why I wrote my book, because I wanted people to understand like the ripple effects of suicide. Like, you are meant to be here. You are absolutely, like, you want to stay here, because your life can be something absolutely amazing if you choose to, and so there's also, I don't have it on me, but like the hotline, call that, or even, if you don't want to talk to anybody, journal. Like, that has been the most helpful thing for me, because I can put my thoughts on words, and I can express myself, and I can close it, I can put it away, and nobody has to read them, and nobody has to, if you don't want to, if you're not a share, if you're more of an introverted person, which is great, but find a constructive way to express them.
Yes, definitely. And wow, so many nuggets right there. So I totally agree with you. I'm a huge journaler, and I try to journal every morning. And I was actually speaking with a friend of mine who was a doctor of the psychology, a dean of psychology at a local college here. And she said something in the brain actually is taking place when you are physically writing. It is moving down your arm onto your hand, through the pen, onto the paper. It is almost like when you are taking drugs and it affects your brain, it's kind of doing the same thing. The actual physical action of handwriting in a journal is extremely therapeutic. And there are so many veterans right now, or first responders, or anything like that. And, I've just read an article recently where a nurse in one of the hospitals in New York committed suicide because she was so upset with what's going on. Yeah. And so let me just tell you, and you can chime in, Jason, right after this, but let me just tell you, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I don't have any options, so I'm just going to end it, message me. And if I can't help you, I know so many other people that could help you. Sure. And I could also connect you with Jason too.
Yeah. And, I have, resources that I can connect you to, if, like, because I'm not a certified psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I just help people originate their thoughts and find, understand like how to replace them with positive thoughts, but it's, some things are beyond my ability. But again, like I put the suicide helpline in the chat here. It's, at least I can, there's resources that are available, and through my community of the United Suicide Survivors International group that I'm a part of. We have resources to help you, because again, your life is too valuable to take it. It's a gift. Like, and understanding you have talents beyond belief, but it goes back to what you think of yourself, and it goes back to how can I think better about myself. And the thing that I do, Shay, is I ask myself empowering questions. So what I mean by that is this: like, a lot of times we ask ourselves, like, what's wrong with me, or why don't people like me? And your brain is searching for answers. So when you ask those questions, you're going to find the answer.
Right.
So I ask myself, why am I always around people who are lovable? Why am I always around, people who make me happy? Why am I surrounded by love all the time? Why am I able to keep a great job and create new connections? And, it's, so now I'm searching for the positive in my life. Why my dreams and goals come to me so quickly? And the more you repeat that to yourself over and over, because it's called autosuggestion. It's repetition over and over again. Your mind will continually search for the questions that you ask, and whenever I ask I like, why, Dad, why would you, die by, like, why would you take your own life? And in my book, I talk about, like, I had I was going for a run one morning. I just sat in a chair I had outside last summer. It was before my birthday. And, it's almost like I had a conversation, like from like soul to soul. And I'm a believer in faith and stuff like that. And it felt like, I was talking to him, and he was like, it was like, I didn't want to, he's like, I regretted it. And that gave me so much peace, because I realized, like, it was a choice that he really didn't logically make. Like, it was something that, it was an invasive darkness that overtook him, that he just felt like he couldn't get out of. And maybe, and a lot of times they say this too, Shay. They say sometimes, people take their own lives because they think it's going to benefit their family. Ironically.
Yes. But
again, that's, that couldn't be further from the truth. But that's the way that, again, if you repeat yourself to you over and over again, that's what you're going to believe. So why not write things? And affirmations are huge for me too. Saying, like, I am healthy, I am strong. So that those, repeating those positive things to yourself, and it takes time. But the more you repeat it to yourself, the better your life gets.
And I believe that, because I did this, when you start with affirmations, whatever the I am statement is, even if it's an aspiration, a version of yourself, eventually your brain starts to believe it. You almost trick it into believing it. And then that's when, you start those thoughts. The thoughts lead to those feelings, and then your feelings, drive those actions that allow you to go to those aspirations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like, for example, like 4 months ago, I wrote down, I am a best-selling author. I wasn't.
Wow. Had you written yet? Had you started writing yet?
Yeah, it was out. It was out.
Okay.
But even like a year ago, I put, like, I'm an author. And then I was like, you know what? I'm a best-selling author. And so now I was like, oh, okay, what should I write down next? Because in the, if you think about, like, a spiritual seed, like, we know a baby takes 9 months to get here. Like, we know that, like, there's a time gap. If you think positive, and if you're right, and I say, like, it's called the I am palindrome, and I go, I am, and then I followed up with, why am I? So it's I am a best-selling author. Why am I a best-selling author? So I am, why am I? Because you state it, and then you ask your brain to find the answer of why you are whatever you want to become. And so now you're using your mind to find what you want. And if you are patient, it will come with action and patience and the feeling that you get whenever you say those things. It has to happen.
So it's interesting that you're using the word why. I always use the word how. How can I become blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and I actually did that too. Mine was a published author, and now I have 2 books. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
So
again, it's the power of why. It's
yes,
because how, like, you're looking for, and how is great. I think you're looking for, step by step by step by step, kind of like, how am I going to do this? And
mhm,
sometimes, quite frankly, we don't know how it's going to happen.
gotcha.
But if I ask myself why, then sometimes the answers just kind of get revealed to you, come to you. And if you look back, you're like, I have no idea how that happened, but it did.
That's the story of
So
my life.
yeah, I mean, and how is good. And I think how it does have a place for sure. I think how is like, because it gets you thinking like, but if you ask it, you got to ask it like how in a positive way, just like anything else.
Yeah,
How can I do this? I
right.
know I can. How can I do this? As opposed to like, how in the world can I do that?
Right,
Did you
exactly.
see the difference there? The
Absolutely.
expressive, like it goes back to tone again too. So
Absolutely. So where can people buy your book?
it's on Amazon.
Okay.
Shattered by Suicide, Renewed by Resilience. Kindle ebook as well. You can download the Kindle app, which you don't even have to have a Kindle. You just download the app, and it's also on Audible. So can I share a kind of a crazy story about how
Please.
my book became an Audible?
Yeah.
So this again goes, law of attraction. You're going to bring into people like the right time. So
Mhm.
I was saying, I would really like to make my book an audio book. I didn't have the radio equipment. I didn't have any knowledge of how to do that kind of stuff. So Amazon then partnered with a group called ACX, which they specialize in audiobooks. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm just going to try this. Cool. And then so people around the country can audition to do your book. And then
Mhm.
one guy did it. It sounded like a computer voice, whatever. And then another guy did it. And he's like, I'm a radio broadcaster in Las Vegas, Nevada. I lost my son to suicide on May 8th.
Wow.
The exact same
Same
day I lost my dad.
day.
Exact same
Wow.
day. True story.
Wow.
True story. And my audiobook is amazing. Like there's no way I can't even do it justice. His name is Ed. He's a radio producer in Vegas,
Mhm.
and he was like, I don't know how this happened, but and now looking back, I'm like, that wasn't me that did that.
Right.
That
Right.
was the craziness of the synchronicities. There was just, and that's the thing I'm talking about. Like, it goes back to like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but why do I have an audiobook? And then you
Yeah.
just allow it. You're willing to be open to what could come into your life.
Mm. I love that. I love that. I love that. So we're just getting ready to wrap up. But if you are struggling right now, if you are contemplating anything, if you're, whether you're a first responder, a veteran, or someone who just going through whatever they're going through right now, you know, connect with us, number one, and we will help you get to where you need to be. Where someone else that can, if we're not helpful for you, someone else that could be helpful for you. And also get his book, because it will help you really put everything in perspective as far as your mindset, and the thoughts that you're thinking maybe aren't true, because
Mm-hmm.
more than likely they're not true. So Jason, is there any last piece of advice or anything that you would give?
Last thing I want to say is that there is one of the great laws of nature is the law of polarity, which says for everything has an opposite and has an equal opposite. So, we're going through some tough times right now. That's the reality of it. But what helps me move forward is I heard optimism explained this way. It's like you recognize that things are tough right now, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that things are going to eventually get better.
Yeah.
So in law of polarity states there's an equal opposite. So man, like I can't wait to see what good's going to come from this on the
Hmm.
other side. So, again, the law of polarity, it's one that I use a lot to help me shift my mindset when things maybe aren't going my way, because I realize, oh, something has got, and you got to use it in your favor. So it's like, how is this going to eventually turn to go my way again?
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome advice. So thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure and honor. And
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
yeah, as you guys can tell, we could talk forever.
Yeah.
Lots of things, are in synchronicity, like you had said before.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find Jason on Facebook. You can also find him on, what are your other social medias?
Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm on all the things. Well, except for I'm not really on Snapchat. I feel like that's kind of like I did it. It was cool, but
Now it's
I have
over.
2 kids now, so there's only so much social media I can really do.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's on all the things with his name, and so you can find his book on Amazon as well, or ebook, Kindle, and Audible. And thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. And if you find that this is something that is really helpful to you, feel free to share it with your friends. You can find the replay on my page at Shā Sparks on Facebook. You can also find it again on YouTube in the next day or two. And, keep in touch, and we'll be back for another episode of Hey Shā, What Can I Say? Bye, everyone.